Hello, and welcome to Statewide IT Procurement's training video for the Ariba Sourcing Tool. In this video, we will show you how to create a sourcing project. After viewing this video, you should be able to successfully create a sourcing project and upload an intake form. Note that we are on the home page of the Ariba Sourcing Tool. Under Common Actions, we will create a sourcing project. The first field that shows is the mandatory name field. If you have a name for your project already established under EPMO, then we would ask that this name be the same name of the established project name. If not, we ask that you just continue to use the same name throughout the process. So for this particular case, let's name this project Training Sourcing Tool Project Creation. While the description field is not mandatory, we do ask that you populate this field. By providing information in this field, you will help us be able to better identify and understand what it is that you are purchasing, as well as be able to help find your request and inquiries. Next is the copy from project field. This is not a mandatory field, and it is not a field that we ordinarily use. However, if you choose to use it, it will pull additional information or like information from previous projects. It will copy such things as entity, estimated contract value, solicitation vehicle, commodity contract months, and target contract award date. And the way that you use this field is you will choose the drop-down box, and if you see the previous project that you want to copy this information from, you will choose it. If not, you would do so by clicking Other and then searching for it. For this instructional video, we will not use it. Test project is always no. The entity is the same as before. We choose the drop-down box. If your entity appears in one of the previous options that you've used, then you could choose it from here. If not, you can choose it by searching more. We're going to use the search more function. As you come to the choose values for entity, you will find that there are two options, one for community college and one for state agencies. We're going to click on state agencies. You can scroll through the list and find your agency, or you can type it in. And here it comes up. So now we will choose from the drop-down arrow or the blue caret next to the agency name, and we are going to choose Statewide IT Procurement. Next is the estimated total value field. This field is the estimated total value of the contract. So, for example, if you estimate that your first year is going to be $100,000 and you have two optional year renewals available, and both of those are going to be $100,000, then the estimated contract values total is $300,000, and we'll enter that here. The next is the estimated base contract value, and that value is simply the estimated cost for the initial contract year, which in our scenario is $100,000. Next is the solicitation vehicle, and we choose that by pulling down the drop-down arrow. Note that here there is a non-IT solicitation option. Because we are IT procurement, this is one that we won't be using for IT procurements. We are going to use either the IT RFP, IFB, RFQ, statement of work, or exception request only. So for this instructional video, we will use RFP. One thing to note is, depending on the solicitation vehicle you use, additional questions will appear below in the sourcing template. We will answer those questions once we finish completing the top portion. Next, you have the owner, and which is DIT sourcing. You have the currency and then the commodity. We will choose the commodity by choosing the drop-down arrow. If your commodity is in the list that has been previously chosen, you may choose it from the previous list. In this particular case, we're going to use the search more function. Once you get to the choose values for commodity page, you could either scroll down and look through all the commodities, or you can simply go to the top and type in your search criteria. So here we have software. We're going to open that up more, and we're going to choose business function specific software. How far you drill down is really up to how far your agency chooses. The contract months will be 36 months, and that comes from the 1 year with the two optional year renewals, which is 36 months. Next is your target contract award date. We do ask that this date be a realistic date. We would ask that it be no less than 120 days for an RFP. That will give us time to properly review, get your RFP or your solicitation document posted, evaluated, and awarded. So we'll say August 31st. Now, we go down to the questions that have populated down below in the sourcing template. First question is this an IT project as determined by NCD IT EPMO? Your answer will either need to be yes or no. In this particular instance, we're going to use yes. So it's important to remember that if EPMO's approval comes back opposite of what we originally chose when we first created our sourcing project, we must go and update it afterwards. So in this particular case, we said that yes, it is a project. And let's say that EPMO came back and said no. So the way that we go back and update that is by coming back to the overview screen, choosing actions, editing overview, choosing template questions, and then changing yes to no, and click OK. The next question is the number of default of sourcing event envelopes is 1, which is standard for one-step solicitations. Will this be a two-step solicitation? What they're talking about here is the standard one-step, two-step process in solicitations. Most solicitations are one step. And so the answer to this question automatically defaults to no, which is correct if it's going to be a one step. Please be careful when answering this because the question that is being posed here is, will this be a two-step? You will only change this answer if you are doing a two-step solicitation. So in this particular case, the answer will stay no, and we will click create. We are now brought to the overview screen. Please note that an ID has now been created. It begins with WS. This is also another identifier number that can help us find your solicitation when you are performing inquiries. So for the moment, we're going to skip past the Documents tab, and we're going to go over to the Tasks tab. Here, you will find that there are now 10 tasks involved in your solicitation project. We are now at task number 1, which is to create the intake form. In order to get your intake form, we're going to go to the Documents tab. The Documents tab is considered a working tab. It is the repository for all of your required forms for your IT solicitation. There are 2 parts. The first part is the shortcut to the sourcing library folder, which is where all of the forms are housed. The second part is all of the folders that you will use throughout the process. So as you can see, you will use an intake form folder in this phase. You'll have an exception folder. You'll have your solicitation documents, any exceptions, any clarifications, any vendor proposals, award recommendations, and BAFOs. So this is where you will house all of your working documents as you continue to process through the solicitation process. So let's go back up to the top, and we're going to begin with our intake form. We're going to choose the arrow off to the right, and we're going to open. Here is our intake form. We want to open the caret and then come over to the IT intake form and do download draft. And when you download the draft, what's going to happen is you're going to get a blank intake form. You will fill this intake form out in its entirety, save it, and then upload it. So we are going to pretend that we have completed it. We are going to save it. Just use this one. since I already have one. Okay, we are now back to our screen here. Now that we have saved our intake form, we will come to the Documents tab. Click the blue caret to the left of Intake Form folder. Click the drop-down box for Replace with Intake Form, and then we will actually choose the Replace Document function. We will choose the file. Click Open. We ask that you do not place anything in the description box, so now we will choose Replace. Of the three options, we will choose Replace Document by the uploaded file. On this screen here, you could put any version comments that you would like. For example, if this is a third or fourth version, you could put a brief explanation of why, what was changed. And also use the description section if you would like. If you're not going to make any changes here or add any comments, then we just click Save. And now you can see the status has changed to draft. Now we will go to the task and we will click to the right of Submit IT Procurement Intake Form to NCDIT reviewers. View task details. Scroll down. And you must put a fixed date here. If you do not put a date, it will not jumpstart the task. So we ask that you at least put 5 business days from the date of submittal. So today is the 20th. We'll go to the 27th and we'll hit submit. And as you can see, it is now in the approval process. We can now see that our intake form has been approved by Statewide IT Procurement Admin and the EPMO office. This now takes us into Task 2.